Cats is a 2019 musical fantasy film directed by Tom Hooper and based off of the stage play of the same name. There is so much to say about this movie, but I will start off with a simple bottom line. I hate it. I hate it so much. It has been haunting my brain ever since I saw it. I went and saw it with a friend its second weekend, and we were the only two people in the entire theater. It's just a failure on every front. It's probably one of the worst movies I've seen in a theater since Alvin and the Chipmunks the Squeakquel. I can scarcely find any credit to give this movie that is an actual credit to the movie. The music is pretty good, composed by Andrew Lloyd Webber, except it's just a copy and pasted version of the original music from the Broadway show. I don't think there was a single good performance in it at all, despite the fact that there's quite a few just star-studded actors that are in this. Ian McKellen, Judi Dench, Jason Derulo. You know, I went into this movie just ready to give it a fair shake, ready to just accept what I was seeing, accept it for what it was, and that was a mediocre adaptation of an equally mediocre stage play. And I got more than mediocre. I got suboptimal. I got trash. I got cat shit thrown in my face, shoved into my mouth for 110 minutes. And it's insulting. It's insulting how terrible this movie is. This video is going to turn out to be pretty angry, I'm sure, just because I have a lot of raw, uncut thoughts about this movie that I haven't really been able to get out. So just prepare for that. Maybe some foul language, definitely some spoilers, if you can even spoil this movie. But yeah, prepare yourself. Alright, so as I mentioned before, the film was directed by Tom Hooper, acclaimed Academy Award-winning director of Les Miserables, The King's Speech, a couple of other things. He has so many films under his belt. Now, I haven't seen any of the other films that he's made, but I know that people just absolutely love movies like The King's Speech. That won Best Picture, and that's what makes Cats so confusing, because you'd think that a director like that knows what scripts are good and what scripts are bad, but I know that he has, a creative passion. And that's why I can't entirely dog on this film. I mean, I'm gonna entirely dog on this film, but you can tell that the people behind it wanted to make this movie, besides James Corden. You can tell that there were people that wanted to make this movie good. They just fell flat on their face. They fell flat on their face and turned it into a goddamn pancake. So I feel like I can't really talk about this movie very well without first talking about the 1998, I guess it's sort of just a taping of the Broadway show. That is... Okay, I watched that for the first time when I was about 6 years old. I adored it when I was 6. It was the shit when I was 6. But, obviously, everything's the shit to a 6-year-old. I mean, I saw Alvin and the Chipmunks the Squeakquel when I was 6, and I'm like, that is filmmaking. That is what I want to see. Give me more of that. But I revisited Cats from 1998 again in preparation for this film, and it doesn't hold up nearly as well to my 6-year-old brain. However, seeing it again sort of warmed me up for what I was about to see. Now, I don't particularly like the 1998 one, but it is 1,998 times better than the 2019 version. For one thing, the cats aren't absolutely terrifying. That's obviously just a plus. We'll get into that in a minute. The makeup in the original Broadway show is pretty good, and I feel like if they stuck to makeup rather than a dependence on computer-generated, effects, it would help this movie a ton. Because after you get that out of the way, the movie won't be so goddamn ugly, so there isn't too much to hate about it besides the fact that it's just absolutely heartless. I mentioned before that the people who were making the film obviously cared about what they were making. And the same goes for some of the actors. That cannot be said for the likes of Ian McKellen, Judi Dench, James Corden, Jason Derulo. They are hamming it the fuck up. Or at least Jason Derulo and James Corden are. You can tell that they're just like, alright, you know what? I'm getting a paycheck. I'm gonna be a goddamn idiot for 2 hours. The same cannot be said for Ian McKellen, who's in the movie for a total of 2 minutes, I think, and has 4 lines. I don't even remember if he sings a song or not, but he's just... It's like he came in, it's like he was wearing his pajamas and they just CG'd over that and he's just like, I am a cat. I enjoy the theatrical arts. And then he just leaves. Same goes for Judi Dench even. Like, she was on set probably for a day, probably just, it was in her contract that she just refused to stand up. I don't think she stands up in the entirety of the movie. She goes from sitting in a weird cat's cradle to sitting on top of a statue to sitting on the ship where the bad guys live. There are several actors who are really trying to make the best of the situation and the script that they got, and then there's other actors who just don't give a shit. And the fact that they don't give a shit mixed with like the collision of different types of like levels of efforts is just it makes for such a weird mess of a viewing experience. Because I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay, if the actor's not going to take this shit seriously, if the people that are making the movie what it is aren't taking it seriously, why am I gonna take it seriously? Why should I take it seriously? And I haven't even gotten to the art direction of the film yet. This is one of the ugliest films I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm not even, like, no hyperbole. It's disgusting. It looks like a fever dream, in like, not in like a Gaspar Noé Enter the Void type of way, but like a sort of, we have no idea what the hell this is, so let's just, saturation, terrible CGI furs. Every single shot is just handheld and shaky and just, oh my god, it gave me an avid headache while I was watching it. It's shot with like the widest lens possible to like, without making it fisheye. And it's ugly. It is so ugly. The CGI of the cats is just so rushed and so terribly done, and the novelty of it being funny and ugly wears off after like 10 minutes, so you're just stuck in this hellscape for 2 hours. I know that this is kind of a given, but visuals are one of the most important parts of a movie. There are movies that have very vibrant, very in-your-face color palettes, and that's the artistic choice. There are movies that have very dull color palettes. There are movies that are shot entirely on tripods. There are movies that are shot entirely with handheld cam. But all of it, every single choice that you make with the camera should help the vision of the movie. But when it's just lazy, when you just hold the camera because you don't know how to frame a shot, it doesn't make for a visually pleasing movie. It makes for a rushed-looking, ugly-looking, sloppy movie. And that's exactly what Cats is. It is rushed, it is sloppy, it is poorly made despite the fact that there are so many competent people behind it. And it's just, it's almost infuriating. It's almost infuriating how incompetent this movie is. I go into every single movie wanting to like it. I went into this movie wanting to like it. I don't want to hate a movie. I want to see good movies. I want to avidly encourage the art of filmmaking. But when I see something like this, and I can't think of a single positive about it that actually belongs to this original property, it takes all the advances that we've made in the art form a million steps back. Going back to the look of the cats, it's not just that the computer effects were poorly done and rushed. In fact, it is known that Tom Hooper completed the final cut of the movie like hours before the premiere, so obviously he probably wasn't given the time that he needed in order to make the film what he wanted it to be, which is why Universal was re-releasing the movie. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Even though Universal is re-editing the look of the cats just to make the CG better, it's not gonna fix one of the bigger problems, and it's that the design of the cats is just pretty bland. Like, none of them have a very distinct look to them despite the splotches of fur. Like, if you look at the original Broadway show, some of the cats look pretty damn cool. Like, McCavity looks fucking badass. And then you got this McCavity who just looks like Idris Elba in a skin-tight fursuit. Like I don't know if they went with that choice so that you could tell that it was this famous person better, or if they just didn't realize that the cats looked incredibly bland. Despite the fact that this could probably never make a good movie, you could make some pretty cool-looking character designs regardless. And that ties back into the art direction. All of it is just so sloppy and so lazy and so incredibly rushed. Like this movie, making this movie was a chore. Now, I've been talking about this movie for about 10 minutes and I haven't even begun talking about the story. And the reason for that is that there really isn't one. There is the loosest structure of a plot, and this is an issue that is both apparent to the Broadway show and this new adaptation. It's that there isn't much of a story, it's more so just spectacle and good music. And that's a bit more acceptable in Broadway because you're going to see a Broadway show mostly for the music and the spectacle, but in a movie, you're expecting a bit more of a plot that has progression to it. And that leads me to my next point being Cats should have never ever been adapted into a movie. It's not even that the structure of this film is untraditional, it just doesn't have a structure. I will try to explain what story there is to the best of my abilities, but it won't take very long, so just don't expect much. So you have this group of cats that live in downtown London, I believe. They're called the Jellicles. The Jellicle cats are all part of this, I guess, sort of group, we'd call it a cult if you like, that are run by this old mystical lady, Old Deuteronomy, and she makes the Jellicle choice, that is to choose a certain cat and send them into the afterlife. However, the way that she makes the Jellicle choice is she picks a cat that sings the best song about who they are and what they do. And that is where we get one of this film's biggest flaws. It does not know when to quit. You just get musical number, musical number, musical number, musical number. Nothing in between to flesh out the plot, which is what a movie desperately needs, is a plot. You just get musical number. I'm the railway cat. I'm the fat cat. I'm the other fat cat. I'm the magical cat. No way, I'm the other magical cat. We're the two mischievous twin cats. No way, I'm a mischievous cat. I'm a curious cat, man. It gets so goddamn tiring, and if I was watching this on the stage, I would be a lot more forgiving of it because it's like, oh wow, those lights are really cool, that's a really good looking set, man, these cats are really cool. But in a movie, it's like, holy crap, this is all just really ugly visual effects and I am not stunned in any way at all. It is so bloated by all of these meaningless songs that don't even have a good rhythm to them. Non-stop, in your face, just for an hour and a half, and then the last like 20 minutes, it just suddenly remembers that they have to have a bit of a story, so they're like, Macavity, mysterious cat, because we set up that he was turning other cats to dust before, but we didn't know why. But it turns out that he wants to be the Jellicle choice, and the only way that he can be the Jellicle choice is if he murders his opponents? But that conflict is settled in a good 5 minutes and then the movie just ends. This film's biggest downfall is that it is far too faithful to the Broadway play, and you're not just gonna like change all of the songs, you can't do that. And that ties back into my main point. This movie should never have been made. It should have just stayed on Broadway. It does not make for a good movie unless you drastically change it. Speaking of the film being brutally faithful to the original, it's uncomfortably horny. In order for you to understand what I mean by that, I'm gonna have to show you a few clips from the film. Obviously, I can't show you too much because this is like an illegal cam, and I don't want to get zucked. So yeah, I'm gonna show you one minuscule clip, and you might be able to see what I'm talking about. Right, so what you just saw there was Jason Derulo squirting milk, just lots of milk, onto a very willing cat's face. Now, despite that horribly, horribly cursed clip, I don't even think it even holds a candle to the original stage play. That's like the only credit that I can give this new film, is that it has just the slightest bit of restraint, whereas in the original musical numbers go on for 10 minutes at a time. In the 2019 film, they go on for maybe 5. It's just those 5 minutes feel like 10. But let me assure you, the 1998 Cats is like on a whole other fucking level. Oh my god. I think if you were to honestly sit me down and ask me which I would prefer to watch though, I would choose the 1998 version, because that is at least some semblance of entertaining just in how goofy and cheesy it is. I find literally no enjoyment in the 2019 Cats. It's quite literally the opposite of what any movie should try to be. I'll probably watch it again when it hits Blu-ray, just maybe as like a so bad it's funny type of movie, but honestly, I don't even think I can consider it that. It's just painful to sit through, even more than one time. I mean, even the first time I wanted to send myself to the heavy side layer. I would love to see this done in a somewhat competent manner, but even then I don't think it would save the film at all, because at its core is this incoherent, flashy, horny Broadway show that it's really just impossible to escape from. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Cats. I paid to see a movie that sold like 200 tickets per theater its opening weekend. From a financial standpoint, releasing it on the same day as Star Wars was like a pretty stupid move. They pulled an Alvin and the Chipmunks The Road Chip. That is an extremely specific term, but what I'm saying is that Alvin and the Chipmunks The Road Chip came out on the same day as Star Wars The Force Awakens. Both are films that are made for babies, but Star Wars, despite the fact that it's been driven into the ground very quickly, is just absolutely untouchable. So releasing anything on the same day as Star Wars is just the most foolish move that any marketing team can make. And on top of that, no one was excited for this movie anyway. Like, the trailers did horribly, the critics' response was just absolutely dog shit. Well, cat shit. Not a single soul that wasn't a 70-year-old woman was looking forward to this movie, and they released it on the same day as the final movie in like this multi-billion-dollar franchise. It's just the most foolish move ever. It's like the cherry on top of the goddamn shit sundae. So yeah, don't see this film. Let it lose its $100 million. Pirate it when it comes out on digital. I don't know. If you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't, don't. I never want to see it again. This movie is a goddamn insult to the art of filmmaking. I haven't felt this way about a movie since Suicide Squad. Like, that is no small feat. Congratulations, Cats. You made me more miserable than Suicide Squad did. I'm giving this movie a 0 out of 10. It literally gave me cancer.